Well, I feel like a couple of people reached out to me this morning, with one person said, "Did you do," asking me if I did a cease and desist on the lanterns. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation swirling and I don't know where it's coming from,
Yeah.
but so a couple people called me this morning, a few people texted me, I got an email. I feel like there has been some less than good faith discussions about this. I particularly feel, since I was left out of the loop on the conversation, that I'm very troubled by that. And I do feel like the only real viable way to move forward is a community conversation where we have a mediator. So
Yeah.
just so everyone knows, multiple people reached out to me this morning with truly misinformation. Like absolutely not true. Where they were asking me, why did I stop the lanterns out of nowhere? And I said, I have been asking for close to a year for a community conversation. And we have that in the records from this committee meeting. I think everybody who's been here regularly has heard me say it over and over again. And so I don't know where the information is coming from per se, but I don't think it's okay to participate in misinformation like that and misrepresentation, and it can do real harm to a nonprofit. And I'm feeling very serious about this.
Yeah. Okay, so let me respond to that first with an apology. Okay, I on Monday we had construction started and then it was stopped. And Tom Clark had mentioned to me basically that it was stopped because the Chinatown Museum said that they were not going to participate in adding the lantern strings. Okay, my fault was that I did not come to you directly to find out what was going on. So my apologies to you. But still, the construction was stopped, and maybe that's a good thing because we do need to have this community meeting and have everyone together and talk about it and find out, why this is that and why is that, and just come to a happy medium that we can move forward.
Neil, will you
Yes,
correct the record I don't know who you sent it to, but a lot of people reached out to me and they were like, how could you do this? Will you
yeah,
send whatever information you need to send to them to correct the record on this?
I absolutely will, Anna.
Thank you.
Absolutely will. And again, my apologies.
It's okay. I
Yeah,
understand we're all trying to do the best for the neighborhood, but
yeah.
I think this was really damaging to the museum.
Okay. Okay. Lori.
I'm trying. I am very sorry, Anna, if the email that I sent this morning, I believe it was only to Neil and Tom. Um, I'm trying to
No.
find it basically in my sent mail, but because I have so many undelivered messages from uh, dumb ma management of the database, it's very difficult for me to find. Neil, did I send you an email this morning about the lanterns just saying, or maybe it was to Hanako just saying I want to have a conversation um
I did not re
about the lanterns?
Yeah, I did not
On
receive an email from you this morning.
Okay, and maybe it was in my message to Hanako then that I
Okay.
was just like, I
Yeah,
think we need to
and
discuss the lanterns.
yeah, and
And
I just
that
said I
was
was
not a
coming to this
public
meeting.
message. It was Anna, just to be very clear. I spoke to you on Friday. I want to recap on where OTCA stands, which is in support of your decision to come back to the table and have a conversation around the festival streets in general and the board to vote on whether or not that one strand should go over Davis. If we are looking to redesign the festival streets, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and
So,
Lori, I don't think that is the email that would have created the kind of texts and calls and emails that I received. I don't think it was your email. It was people were asking me, how could you? They were saying I signed a cease and desist letter. They were saying that
Hmm.
I had done it out of nowhere. A lot of people were saying things that were just not my
Right.
experience with this. And our committee has been here for a lot of it. So I think can attest to the fact that this has been an ongoing topic of conversation.
Yeah, okay.
It
Um,
sounds like my email wasn't the only one. So,
I don't know who else would have sent a message. I just want to be very clear that it did not come from the OTCA. The only message that I have sent about this was a conversation with Tom on the phone
Yeah.
on after
Yeah.
you and I talked, which was basically me saying, I think that the board need to decide that you want a conversation with the neighborhoods, that it wasn't clear to you that the all of the lanterns were going to be red, that there was a request for an ongoing request for a conversation with the entire neighborhood around the lanterns, and that you were not going to sign the paperwork until that conversation took place, which left us to have one single strand of lights across the neighborhood, across
Well, and
Davis.
but I think another thing that just the record has to be corrected here. It's not about me.
Oh, I know, I
It's
know.
no,
I
it's
was
about,
not.
saying that you were gonna not
Yeah.
that's you wanted to have a conversation, that
yeah,
it was not, you were not comfortable with representing the community without having had that conversation which you
yeah,
had requested.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And that,
Um,
not that I said, I didn't say no to this either. I just said we have to have a conversation. So, and Lori, don't worry. I don't think it was your email, because that sounds pretty accurate to the conversation we had had. But I don't know, maybe it's not even an email. Maybe it's just conversations that are happening, but that are completely not grounded in reality or truth.
well, I'm really sorry.
It's okay. It's
That
okay. We'll
yeah.
get through it. This is part of the process. We'll get through it. I think it's a great signal that we do need to sit down and talk with everyone. And that I think that going forward, we might even need to have rules of engagement. I know Lonsu has it, other boards have it, where, there are certain rules for what information can and should and when it should be shared. Just to make sure that we're always having productive, factual conversations.
Hey, Hanako.
Yeah, I guess just for moving forward, like can we like kind of set like not a date but like a time frame, like hey, could we have a try to do this convening of folks to talk about like in August or September so we can move towards having this conversation? Because I think that that's the next step that needs to actually happen because we've been talking about the need for this, but then we haven't actually, as a committee, said we're going to go do this and made that commitment to actually have it. So if
Yeah,
that could be on the agenda or something, that'd be nice.
I would like to see that happen in July, late July.
Okay,
But
well, I'm gonna say
yeah,
that I won't be here in July. And I could try to send a representative, but like that's impossible for me because I'm not going to be here.
I'd like,
I'm only
yeah.
in Oregon 4 days out of the month because of all of our
Mm,
community engagement programming that's outside of Portland.
okay. Well, let's work on that. Okay. Lori?
I
Oh,
understand that there was a deadline to produce the metal fabrications to connect both the society and the PCM with the lanterns. Um, which was, I think, basically last week, so that we didn't incur any additional costs. Um, I think that the conversation around the Festival Street redesign needs to be brought into this because uh, the Festival Street should, in my opinion, should mirror each other. And the Festival Street is also unusable during the summer because of there's no shade. So
yeah.
the lanterns themselves then impede on
Hey,
creating
where's
some sort of sail
where,
or shade if we're going to,
Harold,
if that's going to be part of the, who,
bad boy.
somebody trying to talk?
Uh,
Janet? Okay, never mind. So I think this is all like really great to initiate these conversations. I think that the fact that the Society Hotel has now been put on the market is also very relevant to this conversation, which has only just happened in the past 24 hours. And
Mm,
so um, I would I would agree that this conversation needs to happen. I also think that it's kind of a silver lining that Anna has pushed back on this because there is a finite amount of money in the budget for the lanterns, and we don't currently have a full second set of lanterns to replace what would be needed for the next time around. The new lanterns are going to last for approximately 5 years, so it's not like it's completely um, uh, pertinent that we have those all on hand from the onset, but I do think that the Festival Street redesign is like the conversation that needs to be feeding into this. And I think that if there's any way that I can help to facilitate that, find a mediator, and also to help roll back any damage that was inflicted to PCM in this conversation, then I'm here to do that as well.
okay, any other comments?
I think there's a few that need to be read out in the chat.
Yeah, okay, let me
Yeah,
see here.
it's what a statement from the museum and then continuing.
Yep. Okay, so I'll read it out. Um, see, sorry for the bold, but after that, Neil's email, I'm putting this in committee meeting chat if I think it's too late. I want to make sure the committee has accurate information before this discussion moves forward. It appears decisions and characterizations have been made without the involvement of Portland Chinatown Museum or our Japanese American community partners, and the account circulating does not reflect our actual position. We have not refused this project. We have consistently asked for a real community conversation with all partners on the table before any further collaboration. This conversation has never happened. Our position has always been simple: include lanterns representing each community or include none. We will not participate in a design that excludes part of our community we serve. We have also included in the front installation without full prior consent, which is part of why we have asked for a proper process going forward. We remain open to collaboration and deeply committed to this neighborhood, but good community projects require a genuine community process. And we would ask that this committee insist on that before any vote moves forward tomorrow. Okay. Let's see. From Sarah, I don't understand why all stakeholders were not in the total agreement on Lantern project before construction started. One from Tommy, going to be honest, if that one Tong has that big of a problem with Japanese lanterns in general, I'm going to plaster my building with Japanese flags. And then Anna hasn't, Anna.
Yeah. And just to let you know, Anna's in the emergency room,
Oh,
like
okay.
for
Yeah.
back issues. So
All
that's
right.
why, yeah. So,
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. All good comments. Um, and yeah, I guess moving from here, okay, we understand each other. I guess what we need to do is start a plan on putting a community meeting together and get everybody on the table. At the same time, retracting some statements and making a few apologies, at least on my part, and then trying to move forward in a collaborative manner. And, any other comments we want to talk about?
Well, and the thing is like, it's just getting the people to have the conversations because it's
Hmm.
like a lot of the voices that you're presenting, they don't come to these meetings and they're not part
Yeah,
of like OTCA. And it's just
yeah.
like, I think that, once we could at least have that understanding and the feeling of being understood on the other side, because it just
Hmm.
feels like they only want us to understand them, but they don't want to understand why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're reasonable to be like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. But it just feels like
Hmm.
it's always unilateral decisions that are being made. And so it's fine if they come to these meetings, we have this discussion, that's great. But it just feels like, I can't even put names to the people who you're presenting the information from, like
Yeah.
to this. And that's, I think, a larger just issue with community engagement if everything's siloed, rather than having this conversation in a
Hmm.
space where we could just talk it out. Because, like, I want to be mindful about stuff, but I also, like what I said prior, I think this was like last year, where, yes, I know that there's historical issues that they may have about like mainland China and mainland Japan. But what we're trying to celebrate here is the communities that created a community here in the United States and is Japanese
Yep.
American and Chinese American, and how
Right.
that has developed here in Oregon. And
Yep.
so it's, we could still like, I'm not saying that their experiences don't matter, but it's like what are we trying to create in this space, right?
Yeah. We need to
And
move forward. Yeah.
yeah, and just having that understanding. So
Hmm. Yeah.
I also want to echo what Hanako was saying, and I know this project has been talked about for a fair number of time now, years actually, starting with the Third Avenue lanterns. But just as Hanako was saying, that the people that are impacted, the stakeholders this time around, they don't come to the OTCA meetings. I don't go to the OTCA meetings, and yet it has some impact on me through the museum. So I think,
Yeah.
again, the stakeholders, I mean, the people that are impacted, should have been collaborating together instead of being unilaterally decisions made and kind of forced down on the rest of us.
Yeah. And I have to say too that, the community members need to show up if they want to have stuff done or if they want to have their voice heard. And frankly, I've
That won't
been,
always happen, you know that.
yeah, yeah, I know that. And that's what frustrates me.
But there
So,
can always, I mean, this
yeah.
is an ad hoc, you can have an ad hoc site committee just about the lanterns with
Yeah.
Tom Clark or whoever the other uh, 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 people involved are.
yeah,
Yeah.
and this is just part of the community engagement. It's like, we could at least invite them into a space, and
Yes.
then if they
Yeah.
come, or they could send someone else, but then we could just have these conversations. We get to know who the people are and what are their
Hmm.
feelings about it, and we could just talk it out. But that's,
Yeah.
we just never got to that point. So
We
Right.
want to validate everyone's thoughts
Yeah,
and
that's right. I mean,
feelings.
we want everyone to come, but if they don't, then their voice is not at the table. And that's that, you know. They have to come and participate. That's how I'm feeling these days. So, Lori, got your hand up.
I just dropped my email in the chat. If you guys can email me your list of stakeholders that you would like to be invited to this conversation. Um, the work that is the work is being sort of rolled out, so it may be slightly the time is it may not be synced up. The work will be halted for Davis, and depending on that one strand, depending on what happens at the board meeting, the one strand may or may not happen across Davis. I have asked the board to make that decision. Um, but regardless, if you can email me who you would like those stakeholders to be invited, then I can definitely help organize that meeting. And I respect Hanako that you need it like probably September, by that point, the rest of the lanterns will probably be up for those other 3 half blocks. But we can definitely start the conversation around the festival streets and
So why does the lanterns have to get put up? Like you could still like put out the stuff and then just wait until we have this conversation because this is where I'm gonna just kind of push back a little bit, not too hard though. But we asked for this discussion last year and nothing has happened. And to still like proceed with something when we still don't have like a good understanding as a community about why we need this and why we're moving forward on this, like that's where like instead of continuing to push it on like as public engagement aspect, maybe we should just stop, like just put it on pause until we could have this conversation. And that's, part of the good faith effort of us trying to include community and community conversation and dialogue in this. Like, as a person that I spent most of my career doing community engagement, especially within the federal system, you can't just keep on move forward on stuff when there's been a clear lack of conversation about it with the decision making process, or that decision has been made unilaterally. It's like you put a pause on it, and the money that you have in there is earmarked for the lanterns. It will stay that way as such. I understand that prices may increase and whatnot, but that's also a price that we need to pay as an institution for failing to do the community engagement properly.
I'm gonna leave this to Neil to discuss with Tom. This is not a decision that I can make. And Neil and Tom have been the project leads on this, so
Yeah, but this is where I feel like it should be like, well, we need to take this conversation as part of the board meeting tomorrow to have this
yeah.
discussion, to elevate it because obviously there was communication breakdown and issue, and we can't, like, we need to just bring it back, put it all on the table, and then figure out how we move forward. Because especially in our the board meeting that we had where we're discussing what are the things we're trying to fix within the community, and one of it's trust, and
Yeah.
this is a big
Yeah.
part of that trust, where we could at least stop like continuing to do the same thing, so we could just put a pause on it and move forward. So like this is where I would like to recommend that this gets put on the for the conversation tomorrow,
Okay.
in the board meeting, if possible, as like a subcategory, that before we go to the vote for the lanterns itself, because I think that as a procedural part, this is a big part of, I think, the rub where there's a tension. It's just having that community engagement and stakeholder conversation prior to moving forward on projects.
I agree with you, Hanako. I think we need to pause it, and I think we need to have this community conversation with everyone and make sure everybody's at the table and
And
to make
yeah, and depending on how Chris feels too, since you guys are co-leads, like potentially that could be a recommendation that's provided from the subcommittee to the board. But I think that, it's something that is possibly needed to just clear the air and then start, refresh the conversation. Because again, it's like it could work out, it could be fine. We just need to have this conversation.
Sorry, I'll be right back. Sorry.
Can I ask just a quick question regarding the community engagement? I keep hearing that there was, or I'm naive in this conversation. I'm a little new to the conversation. Was there an actual request for community engagement and it didn't happen, or was there just no request for community engagement altogether?
So my understanding, and hopefully when Neil comes back, he could add to this, or Anna. But when I came in, so this was 3 years ago when I first started, they were talking about doing this. But then when they unveiled the one part over by the Third Street, the lantern colors changed, and then that's where we had a conversation like, why were they changed? It's like, oh, there's a group of people that said, white means death, and it's like, okay, we should have further conversation. So that was brought up around that time, but definitely last year when they were trying to navigate where the new strands were going to go, we never resolved this color situation, and just having this conversation with the committee members who didn't want that color, right? But then it seems like some of the narrative was kind of mixed where is it because it's Japanese or is it because it's white? Because the communication was never clear and we never had the people who were advocating for all red lanterns in the conversation. So that's where myself and I know PCM was like, hey, why don't we just have this conversation with them so we could just clear the air and figure it out. But I don't know if they've actually did larger community engagement prior to this of saying, hey, do we actually want lanterns and like surveying people? I'm not aware any of that happened, but maybe Neil could let us know how the decision was made to actually just do this lantern project. Because I know when I came in, Tom was the one that was leading it, and then it was like OTCA was like, this is a good idea, but it's unclear how it originally started. So
I'll try to explain. And Tom was the one that originally and still is directing that particular push. And I don't, it was part of the OTCA before my time. I don't remember how the money was gotten and how it was formulated to have this across the street lantern project. But I do remember in the early days of this committee, Tom had come and we did talk about the different lanterns. And Tom wanted Japanese lanterns and Chinese lanterns. And I was okay with that. I went to the Chinese community and they told me that white is a bad color because of the Chinese cultures. It signifies death and funerals and stuff. And so we came back and said, let's try a different color, red, yellow, anything but white. And I sent an email to Tom stating that, and stating that if it were white, that there would be a big uproar with the Chinese community. When the lanterns did go up on 3rd Avenue, it did go up red and white. And immediately I got just a hailstorm of complaints from the Chinese community. It was almost like back in the day when they were putting up street signs where it was Japantown, Chinatown. That was a big hailstorm. But I guess within a couple of days, it was replaced back to red and red. And I know that Anna did not like that because I remember that she wanted the white lanterns, which is, fine to me in my personal opinion. But I'm the advocate for the Chinese community, so I had to state what they want. Anyway, that's kind of my story of how that happened. Of course, go ahead.
Was there?
I just
So
have
I
to-
guess getting back,
Chris,
was
Chris,
there a?
Chris, really
Oh.
quickly, I'm so sorry. I
Yeah.
just got done with my doctor's appointment.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure people understand it's not about what I do or don't like. So when the red lanterns went up in front of the museum, I explained to the then OTCA group that by not letting us know until it was too late that they were going to replace the Japanese lanterns with red lanterns, it then looked like we were implicit, kind of willing participants in something that erased a large portion of the Old Town communities, community, important partners for us. So I think what everyone needs to understand, and I think maybe some people are thinking it's me doing this. It is not me doing
No,
this.
it's not you.
Me. Yeah,
No,
it is me asking
it's
for
not.
best practices in community engagement and communication. Like the museum shouldn't have been surprised by that. When we were associated with it, I think the launch party was hosted there. And and likewise, when we asked for community discussion before the lanterns went up, that shouldn't be framed as the museum is refusing to let this go through. The museum is asking for proper community engagement.
Okay. Let's see, Chris.
Oh, I just getting back to the original question. So there was I guess from what Anna's saying, there was a request for community engagement, and it just didn't happen, or there was a request for community engagement, and community engagement was received, and then a decision was made and then things happened, or I'm still confused on
Well,
the.
and Chris, another detail of this is that the next round, when we said, it was Hanako and me and a number of other people that said, we can't move forward with this unless we have the discussion. Then in a subsequent OTCA meeting, when Tom was presenting on it, he said he told the Gal Oak tin that I said we wouldn't do it if there weren't Japanese lanterns. But indeed, that was not what I said. I said we needed a community discussion.
I'm going to interject and answer your question, Chris. There has been many requests for community engagement. It's been like every 2 months for the past 18 months. So yes, there's been lots.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so in that regard, so everybody has had an opportunity to voice their opinion, and then a decision was made to move forward
Yeah,
based
There
on the
nobody.
idea
hasn't been
that.
a community engagement. There was requests for a community
Oh, okay,
engagement,
okay.
but it
Thank you.
hasn't happened.
It
Yeah.
hasn't happened because no
Got
one
it.
stepped forward to actually put it together.
Okay, thank you.
And I think this is the time we need to do it. Okay. And I'm going to help. I've been kind of on the sidelines, but I will help put that together, but I'll need help.
I mean, I just really want to say this. This is kind of, and I'm kind of new to this meeting, but this is kind of almost disrespectful. Like a group of Chinese community members complain, and suddenly the whole old town has to change everything just to appease them. Like that's kind of ridiculous, isn't this Old Town Community Association, right?
Yep.
And the whole thing is also like, this is the elephant in the room. I mean, like, this is not about White Lantern. Let's just be honest about this. This is the whole anti-Japanese thing. Like, ever since we've been here, it has been that. I honestly would have much more respect for them if they were actually honest about it.
Well, I would say a lot of the community doesn't have that issue with the Japanese, really. It's just a small sliver of people. And I don't have any issues with it, and I know a lot of people don't. So, I don't know how to express that fully to you, Tommy, but
But that's
know,
where it gets interesting, where then we have these discussions within this committee, and then we have an agreement, and then things change last minute. So, like, and I see that Hung Chen put in a comment saying, why not just, if this creates issues, why not take down the whole thing? Because one of my issues with the whole project is like, whose idea was it? Was it just like Tom's idea? Hey, we need to put this up. I know that Jesse was a proponent of it and was advocating for it, but was there any other community engagement to be like, hey, this is a good idea? Like, I haven't been able to actually see, like, in meeting notes or whatever, where OTCA was like, this is a plan that we're moving forward for XYZ. Like, why did they decide to do the lanterns? Like, what? Anyways, it's just really weird. So
yeah, I don't know the full history myself, but I know that Tom was the one that was in charge of that. Lori?
I didn't work here then, so I don't know
Yeah.
what it was and how
Right.
what the timeline was. But I really think that tomorrow, anyone who is interested, we should have this conversation. Tom will be there present, so he can answer questions directly. And I don't know. Yeah, I think that Tom needs to answer some of these questions directly because there isn't anybody here apart from Hong Chang that was present at that time.
Hanako?
this will just be my request if possible. So Lori, I don't know if this could happen or not, but because I'm just in the middle of like getting ready for a teacher's workshop and stuff. And then I have a meeting at 1, so I wasn't going to be able to make the board meeting, but I could probably get out of my meeting by 1:30 if we could leave that for like 1:30 for the discussion, so then I could come back into the meeting. That would be great, but I totally understand if that doesn't work out.
No,
But
that's what we'll do, of course.
okay.
And Anna, I know that you're not on the board, but if you could be present as part of this conversation, that would be really helpful as well, I think.
Chris?
Can I ask a quick question real
Yeah,
quick?
yeah, go ahead.
Who made the decision to to change the lanterns from white to red?
It was actually an email to Tom from me back in the first phase that I told him that it should be red or some other color other than white. And I told him that if it was white, that you would see a reaction from the Chinese community. When he put it up, I thought he understood it, but when he put it up white. And that wasn't what I understood. So I think it was a miscommunication from Tom's part. I think he just didn't see my email or understood my
Well,
email.
it now sounds
You
like
know,
so you're the one that was making the decision to then change the colors, right? It didn't come
no,
back to
it
this committee or anything like that. If it was your email, that
no.
you're trying to indicate that it shouldn't be white,
That was
right?
that was that was before everything was put up. It was like a year before the construction happened. I had told Tom that this is what the Chinese community wanted to see. They didn't want to see white. And I didn't mention anything about the Japanese lanterns. They didn't have a problem with that. They just had the problem with the color.
So then that's the thing where I like, how come it didn't make it back into this committee? Because it wasn't until it was up, I think, and then it got changed is when
Yeah,
we were notified
yeah,
that, it has to be a different
yeah,
color other than white. And
yeah,
and that's part of the communication issue of not actually
yeah,
having it come out of here. Because if you
yeah,
brought it up and we had a discussion or whatever, that's just it goes back
yeah.
to the community engagement and
Right.
actually having a conversation without
Uh,
like
uh,
just changing.
I understand. But at that time, the project was basically run by Tom and not by the committee. The committee was supposedly at the time only an advisory committee, but Tom was the one that was actually running the project. So that's my understanding. That's how I remember it. Chris?
Just real quick, I'm sorry again, I'm relatively new to the conversation, but some of the old the OTCA just general board meetings, I remember much discussion going on with the lanterns for, I mean, I think there was an agenda item pretty much in every meeting for, I swear it was like a full year of I mean, Tom coming in, giving him his report, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know if the color thing had already been situated by then. I guess what I'm that's relatively irrelevant, but I think what Hanako had mentioned earlier about, is there still a way to get light up without dealing with colors right now? Because I think one thing that is being overlooked in the whole conversation right now is that there is light in Old Town, and that I think that's super important. That there's activation, there's light, there's change, there's positive momentum. If we can disregard colors, or not disregard colors, sorry, that's wrong phrasing, but a way to not uh, work with or not deal with the colors right now, have that be a community conversation, but still continue moving forward with installing light. I think that's a super positive thing for Old Town. So if that's a possibility, I think that's something certainly to consider.
I would think, we don't, we could do this without lanterns. We just have the lights. I mean, I just saw lights get put up over at Trader Joe's by my house, and it's all just lights and it looks fine. So maybe that's an option. Okay, I'm just putting it out there.
Even if it's a temporary option, community engagement still happens. Get light up, activate
Yeah,
these
yeah,
areas that so desperately need it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can put up the lights because you can always put a lantern around the light in the future, right? Right.
And Chris, I would just say this with the meetings when Tom came to discuss stuff, it was a one-way information transit. There was really no discussion about it. It's just we were being informed, which
Yeah.
that's where hopefully I think things are changing for the better now with the OTCA meetings, where now we can actually have conversations. Before it was just information sharing one way, and there was no real engagement. So.
Yeah. In the beginning, this committee was just an advisory committee. I think we have more power to do things now, I think, or at least we have power to do something, right? Rather than just being advisory, which is what happened in the beginning. So that's my opinion. And you know, I want to work with Hanako, and I agree with Hanako that we need to put together this general committee and get everybody at the table. So I'm behind you, and I want to work it with you and get that going. All right, 10 minutes to go. Is there anything else we want to talk about,
I
or
just saw a note from, it looks like Hong Chen about if the Portland Chinatown Museum won't participate, can we still string lights? And I just feel like it's really worth a conversation. Like it's not about us not participating, it's about whether or not the community will have a conversation. Because from my perspective, and I can ask my board, but from my perspective, you know, putting the lights up may be another issue that we haven't thought about. For instance, Lori's talking about how both of the festival streets are going to need some updates. And so if we put the light strands up, you know, and so I feel like it might be hard for us to transition from kind of the one-way informational approach
yeah,
to a discursive approach, but I think it's really important. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think getting back to having the pause is probably a good thing. Let's pause and have the discussion and make sure we're all on board before we move forward, or not. Chris?
Oh, I was just gonna say if there's across the street, across Burnside, we're in desperate need of lighting over there too. So if the lights don't want to be installed over there, we can install them across the street.
Lori?
Tom, will you call Tom after this and have that conversation or about pausing everything?
Well, I thought that we need to have this in our board meeting tomorrow to
We will,
discuss.
but I
And
think that like we are in a, like there is active work being done right now. So if there is
No,
going to be a pause, I think it needs that
it
Neil needs to talk to or
it
Tom or I do immediately.
it's already paused. The
Okay, the whole thing.
constructions, the construction was going to start with the CCBA. It started for an hour and a half and it stopped. So
Okay.
nothing's happening right now.
I'm not sure if maybe they have started construction on another part of the
No,
project.
it
Okay, of the
started,
three then. The
there
other
was a
three half
construction,
blocks.
yeah, there was a construction schedule, and the
Yeah.
first one was CCBA. And then after
Okay.
the CCBA, they'd moved to the next building. So nothing was happening.
Okay.
yeah, because I just feel like after the discussion tomorrow, then either then we can convene as OTCA to have a statement to then be sent out on behalf officially of OTCA. Because I think that's, having all these pocket conversations is probably what's leading to some of these things too. So it's better to, convene and then get the information collated and sent out. Um,
Okay. Yeah, Chris, you're co-chair. You can just speak up.
Sorry about that. I that was my hand from before. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, very lively conversation. 6 minutes to go. Anything else we want to talk about? Yeah, Lori.
Um, next month, and I definitely want to send the strategic planning facilitator who sat in on one of these meetings a couple of months ago put all of our comments and objectives into a plan. I'm going to circulate that with all of you. It is a draft. I think next meeting, uh, I definitely think that we need to go through that and work out kind of the to-do list and who's going to take responsibility for those objectives that we set and break that down. That is this committee's objectives, not the overall thing that the board did together, like the retreat that we did. So I'm going to throw that out there. And also, I'm also going to um, throw out there that for in the future, number one, there's a lot of people here, which I'm very surprised by. This is the most we've had in a long time. Thank you all for being here. Um, uh, I want to suggest that Neil or Chris, we need you guys to like send out an agenda every month from now on, so that we can stick to the projects that and discussion, as well as someone does need to take minutes. So please get back to me. We also need to send out like a notice that that this meeting is happening to the general mailing list. I apologize to everyone for the mazillion of emails that you may be getting with meetings canceled, back on canceled. I'm trying to figure out our database, which is a mess. I will be asking everyone to resubscribe to the notices that they want to get, and we will not be managing our database through like Google Invites anymore. That's something that I'm working on. If you have any like suggestions around database management, please get in touch. And then I'm also going to introduce you to Carlos here, who has his hands up, who's helping out with marketing in Old Town. Carlos and I will be chatting with everyone kind of about the communication strategy overall at some point very soon. But Carlos is here. He's helping out with social media marketing. If you have any events or promo that you would like circulated, Carlos has duplicated himself. Hi, Carlos. I'm gonna
Hi,
put his
sorry.
email address in the chat.
I also just wanted to say that as we go about, doing this rebrand for the OTCA, we want to focus on like having a visual representation for the brand that kind of fits everybody and fits all of the different communities that are represented in this area. So in the process of doing that, if you see something come out that you feel like doesn't align with something that you want to be represented by, or whatever the case may be, things of that nature, color choice, that kind of stuff, please don't hesitate to reach out. I very much want to have those things like taken care of so that we don't run into issues like that as far as our representation online.
I don't know if I need to clarify this, but we're not doing like a full rebrand of OTCA or anything like that. So just that may have not landed correctly. That is not what we're
Apologies.
investing in
It's more
whatsoever.
of like
We
our
are, but
visual representation from our
yeah.
Instagram and our community in general.
All right. Thank you for that information, Carlos. Okay, anything else we need to talk about for the last 2 minutes?
Well, I guess since we're at it, and since most of the stakeholders here, Neil, can you just give us a little bit update on Power Up? I mean, I got your email, but I'm guessing everyone else here should hear about it.
Yeah. So Power Up, we had a meeting with some of our board members to find out, more about them and what they're planning on doing. I don't have the email in front of me. They seem to have competent members there that's directing, but they have a issue with image and reputation. They are a new company, but they do want to help people get offline and get back into regular society. I believe that they are and can be part of the solution, not part of the problem. But we need to collaborate with them and help them get into the right position where everyone can work together. So I don't have that information in front of me. If you want to talk to me offline about it, we can. They do want to, they do want to collaborate with the community. And I've asked them to show up at the OTCA meetings and show up at the problem solvers meetings. And they plan on having an open house so that they can also talk to people, show them what they're doing and what they can do. As for security, there were some issues on the street, and they plan on having like Echelon, a third-party security group rather than doing it by themselves, which is probably a good thing because that's a liability for them. So in the end, I guess the bottom line is that they want to be part of the community. They want to help the community get better. So that's kind of the gist of it.
They gotten a handle of what's going on outside of their doors.
They're working on it. I don't think they are there yet, but they do know the situation. We've expressed it to them. They understand that they're responsible. They have an image that they need to change.
I
And they're
literally
willing
saw
to do
someone
it.
selling fentanyl right outside the CCPA building this morning. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. I saw that email. Yeah, they're not ready yet, but we've got to try to help them because they're here, and we want to make them be a good neighbor, and they appear, or at least they want to be. So, all right. So it's 3:01. We're at time. Any last comments? Okay, if not, then thank you for joining this meeting. I appreciate all the conversations, and we will, a number of us will see each other tomorrow. So thank you for all your time. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.